Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
It's another episode of Social Distancing Story Time. Today, we're coming to you from in front of our living room window. And what's special about the living room window, Stacia?
There's hearts.
How'd they get there?
We put them on. There's yellow hearts. There's green hearts. There's blue hearts. There's purple hearts. There's red hearts. There's orange hearts. And then again, yellow hearts.
Wow, did you cut out all those hearts?
No, Jen did some.
Did you stick them all on the window?
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty cool, huh? And then you got so into it, did you start putting them in like all the windows of the house? So maybe we'll have to do the next few story times in front of different heart windows. We have a lot to choose from. It's pretty cool. All right, so here is the first book for today. The Tale of Ginger and Pickles by Beatrix Potter. If you want to be able to see it, you're going to want to move, dude. So many pages in the beginning. I'm having trouble turning them. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a village shop. The name over the window was Ginger and Pickles. It was a little small shop, just the right size for dolls. Lucinda and Jane Doll, cook, always bought their groceries at Ginger and Pickles. Do you remember Lucinda and Jane? They were in one of the other books we read this week, right?
Yeah. The book we read yesterday.
Did the bad mice come in and try and get their stuff? Yeah. All right. The counter inside was a convenient height for rabbits. Ginger and Pickles sold red spotty pocket handkerchiefs at a penny 3 farthings. They also sold sugar and snuff and galoshes. In fact, although it was such a small shop, it sold nearly everything except a few things that you want in a hurry, like bootlaces, hairpins, and mutton chops. Ginger and Pickles were the people who kept the shop. Ginger was a yellow tomcat, and Pickles was a terrier. The rabbits were always a little bit afraid of Pickles. Why were they afraid of Pickles? Do dogs like to chase after bunnies sometimes? That's just a thing they do. The shop was also patronized by mice, only the mice were rather afraid of Ginger. And why were the mice afraid of Ginger?
Because cats like to chase mice.
Because cats like to chase mice, that's right. Ginger usually requested Pickles to serve them because he said it made his mouth water. I cannot bear, said he, to see them going out at the door carrying their little parcels.
What are parcels?
Parcels? They are little boxes, little packages. I have the same feeling about rats, replied Pickles, but it would never do to eat our customers. They would leave us and go to Tabitha Twitchit's. On the contrary, they would go nowhere, replied Ginger gloomily. Tabitha Twitchit kept the only other shop in the village. She did not give credit. Ginger and Pickles gave unlimited credit. Now, the meaning of credit is this. When a customer buys a bar of soap, instead of the customer pulling out a purse and paying for it, she will say she will pay another time. And Pickles makes a low bow and says, with pleasure, madam. And it is written down in a book. The customers come again and buy quantities in spite of being afraid of Ginger and Pickles. Do you think this might be setting up a problem?
What?
Well, they never pay, I don't think. But there is no money in what is called the till. And why is there no money? Because people are buying on credit. The customers came in crowds every day and bought quantities, especially the toffee customers. But there was always no money. They never paid for as much as a pennyworth of peppermints. But the sales were enormous, 10 times as large as Tabitha Twitchit's. As there was always no money, Ginger and Pickles were obliged to eat their own goods. Pickles ate biscuits and Ginger ate a dried haddock. They ate them by candlelight after the shop was closed. When it came to January 1st, there was still no money, and Pickles was unable to buy a dog license. "Oh, it is very unpleasant. I am afraid of the police," said Pickles. "It is your own fault for being a terrier. I do not require a license, and neither does Cap, the collie dog." "It is very uncomfortable. I am afraid I shall be summoned. I have tried in vain to get a license upon credit at the post office," said Pickles. "The place is full of policemen. I met one as I was coming home." "Then let us send in the bill again to Samuel Whiskers, Ginger. He owes 22.9 for bacon." "I do not believe that he intends to pay at all," replied Ginger. "Well, that's a problem." "And I feel sure that Anna Maria pockets things. Where are all the cream crackers?" "You've eaten them yourself," replied Ginger. Ginger and Pickles retired into the back parlor. They did accounts. They added up sums and sums and sums. Samuel Whiskers has run up a bill as long as his tail. He has had 1 ounce and 3/4 of snuff since October. What is 7 pounds of butter at 1/3 and a stick of sealing wax at 4 matches? Send in all the bills again to everybody, with comps," replied Ginger. After a time, they heard a noise in the shop, as if something had been pushed in at the door. They came out of the back parlor. There was an envelope lying on the counter and a policeman writing in a notebook. Pickles nearly had a fit. He barked and made little rushes. "Bite him, Pickles, bite him," sputtered Ginger, behind a sugar barrel. "He's only a German doll." The policeman went on writing in his notebook. Twice he put his pencil in his mouth, and once he dipped it in the treacle. Pickles barked till he was hoarse, but still the policeman took no notice. He had bead eyes, and his helmet was sewed on with stitches. At length, on his last little rush, Pickles found that the shop was empty. The policeman had disappeared, but the envelope remained. "Do you think that he has gone to fetch a real live policeman? I am afraid it is a summons," said Pickles. "No," replied Ginger, who had opened the envelope. "It is the rates and taxes. £3, 19, 11 3/4. "This is the last straw," said Pickles. "Let us close the shop." They put up the shutters and left, but they have not removed from the neighborhood. In fact, some people wish they had gone further. Ginger is living in the Warren. I do not know what occupation he pursues. He looks stout and comfortable. Pickles is at present a gamekeeper. The closing of the shop caused great inconvenience. Tabitha Twitchett immediately raised the price of everything half a penny, and she continued to refuse to give credit. Of course, there are the tradesmen's carts, the Busher, the Fisherman, and Timothy Baker, but a person cannot live on seed wings and sponge cake and butter buns, not even when the sponge cake is as good as Timothy's. After a time, Mr. John Dormouse and his daughter began to sell peppermints and candles, but they did not keep self-fitting 6s, and it takes 5 mice to carry 1 7-inch cake. Besides, the candles, which they sell, behave very strangely in warm weather. And, look at that candle. Is it tipping over and melting? And Miss Dormouse refused to take back the ends when they were brought back to her with complaints. And when Mr. John Dormouse was complained to, he stayed in bed and would say nothing but "very snug," which is not the way to carry on a retail business. So everybody was pleased when Sally Hennypenny sent out a printed poster to say that she was going to reopen the shop. "Henny's opening sale, grand cooperative jumble, pennies, penny prices, come buy, come try, come buy." The poster was really most enticing. There was a rush upon the opening day. The shop was crammed with customers, and there were crowds of mice upon the biscuit canisters. Sally Hennypenny gets rather flustered when she tries to count out the change, and she insists on being paid cash, but she is quite harmless. And she has laid a remarkable assortment of bargains. There is something to please everybody. I'm not entirely sure what the point of that story is, other than perhaps don't give credit. Cash. Say, "Show me the money." All right. When the World is Ready for Bed by Gillian Shields, illustrated by Anna Curry. When the world is ready for bed, the sky grows dark, the sun glows red. The little flowers shut their eyes, the night birds sing their lullabies. Do you see the bird singing? Supper's ready, in the pot. Come and get it. Well, it's hot. What does it look like you're having?
Soup.
Soup. Now clear the room and tidy up. There's a toy, and here's a cup. And what else are they doing to get ready?
Cleaning up their toys.
Cleaning up their toys, putting them in the bin, looking under the chair. Let's talk about the things you've done. All the laughter, all the fun. What's she telling a story about?
A cow.
A cow. Brush your teeth and comb your hair. Fold your clothes upon the chair. Close the curtain, sleepyhead. Find your blanket, cuddle Ted. Pictures, stories, one last look at the tales in one last book. The lamp glows softly on the stairs. It's time for kisses, hugs, and prayers. And look, a star is shining bright to guard you in the dreaming night. Today has nearly slipped away. Tomorrow brings another day. Always lovely, always new. Tomorrow's waiting just for you. Okay, what's next? All right. We've got Ellie by Mike Wu. I don't think I've ever read this one. This is a new book, right? Newer book?
We've had this book for a while.
I don't think I've read it. On a bright winter day, when Ellie was just finishing her lunch, the zookeeper came by with an announcement. Gather round, Walt called. I have some news. It's a sad day, he said. The zoo is closing. The animals were heartbroken. There must be something we can do, Ellie whispered to her friends. The zoo is our home. Perhaps we can spruce it up a bit, Gerald suggested. Gerald always had good ideas. I'll prune the trees, Lily said, nibbling a leaf. If only my trunk were longer, said Ellie. I'll move this rock, Gerard huffed, clearing it off the path. If only my muscles were bigger, said Ellie. Oh, we've already cleaned here, said the monkeys. What can I do to help, Ellie wondered. It seemed like everybody had a talent. Everybody but Ellie. Ellie thought she'd ask Walt to give her a job, but he was busy too. When the monkeys called him away, Ellie picked up the strange object he'd been holding. It had smooth wood on one side and prickly hairs on the other side. What do you think it was?
A paper.
Ellie gave it a try. When Walt returned and saw her creation, he sprinted back down the path without a word. Had she ruined the wall? Soon she heard a wagon with a squeaky wheel turn the corner. Maybe Walt did like her painting. Ellie added color here and a rainbow there. There were so many walls to color and so many colors to try. Ellie painted all of her friends. She painted the tallest ones, the smartest, and the quietest too. Word spread of Ellie's talents. Squeak! Roar! Chirp! Ellie the artist. People came from all over the city to have their portraits painted. Some came with balloons. Others came with awards. Ellie even painted Mr. Mayor with a smile. Does Mr. Mayor look like he smiles? He looks kind of grumpy. Soon, people from around the world came to see Ellie, the remarkable painting elephant. Lucy hosted the crowds as they arrived at the zoo. Ellie's gallery. Gerard led tours through Ellie's art gallery. And on a bright spring day, with crowds cheering him on, Walt declared, "We are open for good. Thanks to Ellie." What's next? We've got a real animal theme going. If animals said, I love you. Oh, this is by Anne Whitford Paul, pictures by David Walker. If animals said I love you like we do, gorilla would pound a loud chest. Slap, slap. I love you, my young one. Whappity whap. Whale would sing it, and from his spout shoot some heart-shaped bubbles out. Boa would hiss, hatchlings, come please. Time for a loving squish, hugging squeeze. Lion and cousins would tussle and tumble, romp and roll in a joyful love jumble. If animals said I love you like we do, gorilla would say it and offer a treat. Bamboo, little infant, yum, yum, eat. Secretary bird would type with claw feet. Love you. Warm, tender words with a click-clack beat. Cheetah would murmur love's soft purr and lick, lick, lick her sister's fur. Do you lick your sister? No, I don't think she would like that very much. Scampering spider spinning his web would write, I adore you in silky white thread. If animals said I love you like we do, gorilla would say it and pat, pat her lap. Let me hold you close in my hairy arm wrap. Ostrich would strut, his friends by his side, booming his love with his feathers spread wide. Impala would speak with a leapity-leap. I love you, my grandchild, a heapity-heap. Alligator would add a big tail swish and shower his brother, splashity-splish. If animals said I love you like we do, gorilla and infant would smoocheroo, then rumble with happiness loud and deep. Sure of their love, they'd snuggle to sleep. All right, let's read one more animal book. We'll read that one last. Because this one's an animal book too. Which one is this? The Three Little Pigs.
Yes, these are the pigs.
By David Wiesner. Once upon a time, there were 3 pigs who went out into the world to seek their fortune. The first pig decided to build a house, and he built it out of straw. Along came a wolf, who knocked at the door and said, little pig, let me come in." And the pig answered, "Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin." And the wolf said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." So the wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house in. "Hey, he blew me right out of the story!" And he ate the pig up. Or did he? Now the second pig built his house out of sticks. Along came the wolf, who knocked at the door and said, little pig, let me come in." And the pig answered, "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." The wolf said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." "Come on, it's safe out here." So the wolf huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house in and ate the pig up. Or did he? The third pig built his house out of bricks. Along came a wolf, who knocked at the door and said, little pig, we got away from that wolf for good. Wow. Why didn't you two get eaten up? Now we have room to move. Watch this. Oops. Is he knocking over all the pictures of the story? All the pictures fell down. What's going on? Let's explore this place. Okay, just let me fold this up. Whee! They made a paper airplane. Where are they going? Oh, do you see those little piggy tails? Uh-oh. Crash landing. Oof. Hey, over here. Wait, what's that? I think someone's out there. us with this. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish ran away with the spoon. Oh, let's get out of here. This seems weird. Phew! Where to? This one. Come on. There's another story here. How about in here? Oops. He's knocking some more stuff over. Hold still. High on a hill there lived a great, great dragon who stood guard over a rose made of the purest gold. The king was determined to own this treasure, so he sent his eldest son to slay the dragon and bring back the golden rose. Come with us, hurry. They're saving the dragon. The prince spurred his steed to the mountaintop, drew his sword, and slew the mighty dragon. Wait a second. Did he slay the dragon? Many thanks for rescuing me, O brave and noble swine. Don't mention it. Hey diddle diddle. Look who's here. Welcome. These stories are all getting muddled up, aren't they? Now what? Find something? What is this? It's my place. Notice the brickwork. I did it myself. A fine castle, methinks. Yes, it is very nice. You know what? Let's go home. Good idea. We just have to pick these up. Along came a wolf who knocked at the door and said, little pig, let me come in. And the pig answered, not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. The wolf said, then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. The wolf huffed but no matter how much he could not blow down the whoop. He didn't expect to find a dragon in that house, did he? Okay, that's enough. Come inside, everyone. Soup's on. I think we're going to like it here. And they all lived happily ever after. All right, one more book. And this one is not an animal book, and it's not exactly seasonally appropriate, but it's a great book. And, we're running out of books at home. So here's how we keep going. We've got The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. Do we like to read this at Christmas time? Yeah. Do we like to go on the Polar Express and the Santa train? Yeah, we do. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound. A sound a friend had told me I'd never hear. The ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Hi, Daddy.
Hello.
Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. All aboard, the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. Well, he said, are you coming? Where, I asked. Why, to the North Pole, of course, was his answer. This is the Polar Express. I took his outstretched hand, and he pulled me aboard. That looks pretty fancy. What does that look like? Hot cocoa. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. That's actually the best way to make hot chocolate, if you ask me. Outside, the lights of town and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon. But the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills. the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole." The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. "They're gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He'll choose one of you." "Look," shouted one of the children, "the elves!" Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train grew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, we stopped, and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointing to me, said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, "Now what would you like for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine. But the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell high above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas!" A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C." I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as the years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed Stasia's beautiful rainbow of hearts. We'll see you again later. Bye.
Oh.